Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. We're going to get it right into it. Josh McDaniels moments ago finished his Monday press conference. We got a lot to cover. Obviously, the Raiders were outcoached, outplayed, and embarrassed in Buffalo 38-10. I did my complete game recap. Now I do my Monday, which is after I've watched the film, after we get some thoughts from people inside the organization, and then we turn ahead and start moving our attention to the next game. I want to make a couple of statements. First of all, the views expressed in this podcast are mine. If they're not yours and you don't like them, I'm sorry, they're mine, and I'm not apologizing for them. But what we want to talk about is we expected the Raiders to lose. I did. Shouldn't say we. I did. Predicted it. Before the year, I predicted it and predicted it last week. So there's no shame in your game traveling to Buffalo, and losing in Buffalo to a team that would not shock anybody if they make it to a Super Bowl. There's no shame in that. But when you lose 38-10, and there were some things that happened, I don't know that shame is the right word, but certainly it's fair and germane to use the term embarrassing. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, you can make too much out of one win and too much out of one loss. I've said that numerous times, and I'm going to always say it because it's true. The point of the matter is, predicted the Raiders to be 1-1 right now. They are, and they're leaders of the AFC West, 2 games in. So you know what? You take it, and you understand, and you learn from it. A couple of things I want to talk about after watching the film is you may remember a couple weeks ago, I think it was when the Lions were playing the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, the Chiefs right tackle lined up illegally the entire game. Now, nothing wrong with that. If the ref doesn't call it, God bless Kansas City. I mean, Al Davis's first rule, well, you guys have heard Matt Millen tell the story on this broadcast, that he gets to Oakland and the first thing he sees is a sign that says rule number 1, cheat. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. All right. And so the Raiders did it for years. So you can't get mad at other teams if they're able to get away with stuff and they're successful. That's just the way the game works. There's the old saying in NASCAR, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I just quit counting how many plays Maxx Crosby was held, tackled. I mean, just flat tackled. Now, I don't think the Bills were cheating. If you're not getting called, you're not getting called for it. But what I don't get, and maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm Josh McDaniels, I am out there sending this film every week, and every week before the game, I'm reminding that side judge, hey, remember, I sent the tape in. He's getting held everything. Now, maybe he is doing that. Maybe he is. Then at some point, you got to take the fine and come out and say, we're reminding the refs and just show the film. But Maxx Crosby, I thought he was great yesterday. I mean, his effort, he was double, triple teamed almost the entire game. When he wasn't, he was just tackled. And even then he was tackled when he was double and triple teamed. His effort was amazing. And I just want to make sure that comes off and he gets a lot of credit. I want to say something that I know is going to bother a lot of Raider fans, and that's fine. But one of the things that makes Bill Belichick an excellent coach, and what I'm about to say is not secretive, he watches your team offensively. He's considered a defensive savant and says, okay, here is what your team does really well offensively. We're going to sell out to stop it. So if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us doing not what you do well. He's very creative defensively. If you watched him against the Miami over the weekend, the Patriots lose, but what a game plan against the Dolphins. And so there is creativity concerns that I have. The first 2 games of the year have told the Raiders, we're not going to let Josh Jacobs beat us. And they've stacked the box. Now, I do not think, after watching, and I watched both film today, Broncos and Bills, just to review the Broncos again. I don't think that the offensive line blocking has been as bad as people think. It's been a numbers game. If you got 5 guys blocking and 7 defenders, it's going to look like you're overwhelmed. Now, has it been great? No. But I don't think it's been as bad as people are saying because teams are loading the box. And when that's the case, they're going to be bringing more guys if you're trying to do a pass rush. So where is the creativity? We saw a jet sweep early, screen early, then we saw a screen later that turned into an interception, but you don't just give up on a play. Okay, they stopped it once. You've got to be attacking the edge. I asked Jimmy Garoppolo about it yesterday. And that was the plan. Where are slants? For those of you who don't know what slants are, it's when you got your tight ends coming or your slot guys. I mean, the quarterback takes the ball 2 steps and throws, getting the ball into the flat areas where linebackers are coming. I mean, I'm concerned. I think, and this is not going to make me popular, and I don't care. That's not why I do this podcast. I think Josh McDaniels and his Super Bowl rings prove the guy has a lot of creativity. I was stunned at the lack of it against Buffalo. We saw the jet sweep early that went for 31 or 34 yards with Trey Tucker. They've been working on that. Not really anything else there with it again. Sweep, I mean, the screen works great. Then you throw an intro. We just get away from stuff. Well, okay, but if stuff isn't working, you don't continue to do it. I'm very disappointed in creativity. Now, I believe in Josh McDaniels. And I know that gets me people mad, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, the views reflected in this podcast are mine. I believe in him. But at some point, it can't just be belief. And I think this Sunday, the Raiders are going to win it. They're going to beat Pittsburgh. And we better see a much more creative attack. Now, I think we will. If we don't, the conversation is going to be a whole heck of a lot different sitting here next Monday. Just saying. I was just stunned at the creativity. And when they're down 21 points in the fourth quarter and still trying to establish the run. Why? I mean, at that point, who cares if you lose by 42 or 7? Go on the freaking attack. Go out there and attack. Put Jimmy in a shotgun. Okay, they're bringing pressure. Great. We're going to put Jimmy in a shotgun. Guys, we're throwing quick. You know, I believe in you take what teams give you. Okay, I do believe in that. But I also believe that you can do so much overanalyzation that you forget what you do. Hey, come out quick. Try to establish the run. If it's clear they've stacked the box and they're able to stop, then you know what you do? You move on. And then come back. Use the pass to set up to the run. But at some point, you got to have an identity. This is who we are. This is what we do. And the teams that are champions are the teams that have the identity of what we do is win. Who cares if you win with Josh Jacobs running or with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing? Who cares? Now, I want to go over a couple other things because watching the film, a couple things really stood out. Hunter Renfrow had 1 catch yesterday, 1 target, 0 against the Broncos. Again, I am there. This week in West Virginia, you watched a lot with those two. There's good rapport with Jimmy and Hunter. There's no animosity. There's no anger. There's no issues. Hunter's not mad at him, not running right routes. Jimmy's not mad. There's none of that. Let me tell you why you're not seeing Hunter involved. Because you're seeing the Raiders with a lot of 2 tight end packages, number 1, which you're going to probably take a slot guy out. Or because when he is in there, he's not the main read. So when you're under pressure. Now, let's look at this from Jimmy Garoppolo's point of view. He comes to the line. I've taught you about pre-snap, post-snap reads. And the pre-snap read says, okay, it's going to go to Hunter. And he looks over to Hunter, and Hunter's in double coverage. He looks over. There's DeAndre or there's Devontae in single coverage. Well, instantly he knows, all right, I'm going to go to the single coverage, which is what he should do. Boom. The safety switch, or you see an adjustment as soon as the ball's hiked, he doesn't have time to go look over here because he's under pressure. Why? Extra men in the box coming to stop the run. So I'm going to say this. I don't think it's Jimmy's fault or Hunter's fault. Now, having said that, this is where creativity comes in. You move Hunter in the slot maybe a yard closer and call some quick slants. You say, what's a slant? Okay, here's Hunter. Here's the defensive back. Like this. Over here's Hunter. Boom, he just cuts across. So you just have a quick one. I mean, your goal on first down is you want to get 4 yards. So anytime you see the team in 2nd and 6 or less, you know you won first down. So let me ask you this question. Who gives a rat's rear end if you get the 4 yards as your goal on first down, whether it's a quick throw to Hunter or Hoop or Mayer or Devontae or DeAndre, Trey, or whomever, Butcher the Baker, the Candlestick Maker, or even Josh. I mean, there was a couple of times I saw Josh run some routes. I want to see wheels. I want to see some wheel routes. I want to see some quick slants. Creativity. If they're going to take away what you do best, then fine. Find another way to beat them. I expect it Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. Expect it. I expect the Raiders to do exactly what I predicted and go 2-1 and remain in first place in the AFC West. I expect them to beat the Steelmen. I think we're going to see it. I really sincerely do. Now, moving along, I want to talk about the defense, because when you give up 38 points and your team gets busted, just chopped in the face, it is a very natural reaction. Well, the defense is terrible again. Okay, do I think the defense is even close to the best in the NFL? No, but I'm the one that kept saying they got to get in the high teens. 19, 18, 17, 16, somewhere in there. I never thought they were better than that. Never thought they were a playoff team. Said 9-8. But when your offense isn't doing anything to sustain anything, if you watch them early in the first half, and even a little in the third, but not much, you saw them getting big stops. I mean, they had a couple of 4th down stops on the Bills, 4th and goal, and they got the big stops. But by the time your offense comes out 1, 2, 3 punt, 1, 2, 3 punt, 1, 2, 3, 4 punt, whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punt, whatever, they were exhausted. And I think the game got away from them. Clearly it did. But I don't think the defense was as bad. I understand that's not going to be popular, and I don't care. My job's not to be popular. It's to tell you what I think. But I don't think the defense was as bad. Do I think they were great? No. But do I think they were even as remotely as bad as the offense? Heck no. Heck no. See, this is where people don't understand. In college, there used to be really popular to have teams that ran a spread offense. And they threw, and then they would lose games, or the score would be 56-53. And those teams could never recruit defensive players because you knew you were never going to get a break. I remember one time having a conversation with Brian Kelly about this, now the LSU coach. And I asked him about time of possession. He said, I don't really care about time of possession because we score quick. Well, your defense does. Now you've begun to see teams that run those types of offense incorporate more of a running game. More, or even if they're not running, they're using the clock, the play clock. Why? Give their defensive guys a blow. Let them get a rest. And so, again, after watching the film, I certainly saw a lot of mistakes. I talked about Marcus Peters just standing there when not putting his head in when there was some running plays. I understand that's who he is, but I think that also shows you why the Raiders are so hype on Nate Hobbs and Jacorian Bennett, because they're two new school corners that are willing to get up there and get physical. But I don't think the defense was as bad as people thought. There were some big 4th and goal stops, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and goal stops. I just think when the offense could get nothing going, they were literally dragging at the end. Again, not perfect, but I don't think as bad. Next, I want to talk about Josh McDaniels. In the post-game locker room in Buffalo, and again today in Henderson, you saw one of the reasons why I like Josh and why I think he's going to get it done. Now, clearly, he's in year 2 and he's got to get it done. I'm not saying he doesn't, but you didn't see any excuse making. He kept reiterating, got to coach better. I think he's absolutely referring to creativity. We got to be more creative. If this isn't working, we've got to be able to come up with a plan. If you're doing A and we planned on B, then we better switch to B. And if we came in planning A and you stopped us, then we got to go to B. To me, I think that's refreshing. I just think it's something that people respond to. Coaches taking responsibility. And I've talked to some players since the game was over. A lot of anger at themselves. No finger pointing. I think that's a really good sign for this team. I think they're fine. And I think they're going to come out. I think you're going to see a lot of it this week. I think you're going to see them take out the Pittsburgh Steelmen. Next, I want to talk about yeah. I want to talk about Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo. They both had very good games, and you've got to credit that to the defensive line eating up some bodies. Now we all know they scored 38. We all know what the game looked like, especially in the late in the 3rd, 4th quarter. It was just terrible. But I'm just telling you, I thought Robert and Divine were better against Buffalo than they were against the Broncos on tape. And I think there were some things they could have done different, but they're starting to gel. Linebackers are a lot like offensive line. You've got to kind of just be able to learn where people are going to be. And Divine has responded very well to Robert's direction and coaching. And I just want to get that out there. I think that was important. Next, I want to talk about Jalen Carter, because a lot of people are asking me, do you still think that the Raiders should not have picked Carter out of Georgia? Absolutely. Now, I want you to know he's playing very well, and the Raiders have a huge need on the defensive line. That's why they picked Tyree. Now, you can go back and look. And before the draft, I said the universal best player in this draft, according to everyone in the NFL, was Carter out of Georgia. But the majority of teams were not even interested in him in the 1st round. In fact, most that I know weren't even interested. They 3rd round, just because there's a lot of off-field and potential issues related to him. So the fact that he's playing well doesn't surprise anybody in the NFL. They had a culture in Philly with a bunch of Georgia players, including some that he looked up to, that they felt like they were going to be able to mitigate risk, and they got him. He's a good player. But no, I don't in any way. I think it would have been a disaster with the Raiders. A disaster. And so I understand fans saying, well, why not him when Tyree clearly is not producing? And he's got to do more. He doesn't have to be where he's going to be in year 3, but he has to be productive. I'm going to wait a few weeks and I'll get more into that. But I wanted to say that about Jalen Carter because I think that was very, very important. Lastly, I want to talk about Chandler Jones. I told you that I was not going to discuss him until there's more issues. Excuse me, some type of resolve coming to this. So I'm going against my word here for a minute, and it's going to be very quick. So it's not going to be any deep revelatory information, but it's going to be at some point, and I do not believe this has been a distraction to the team in the least bit. And I talked to the team, so I would have a feeling. But this certainly has a feeling it's going to have to get resolved at some point relatively soon. I mean, he's taken up a roster spot. So I just want to say that I have no new revelatory information to give you, but I am saying, and I do not believe it's causing a distraction, but I do believe it's coming to a point close. I'm not saying this week, but I think they're going to have to do something. The Raiders are wasting a roster spot, and something's going to have to happen. Either way, I think I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to get into that. But no matter how it resolves, I think it's got to get resolved. Now let's talk about Pittsburgh. The Raiders, they're going to have a huge crowd in Vegas. That's just the reality of the situation. Just the reality. And the Raiders are going to have to come out. And if they stack the box, which is what I would expect them to do, then you've got to come out and say, okay, listen, we want to be balanced. But there's one thing more important than balance. It's called winning. We were balanced. Okay. But did you win? At the end of the day, nobody talks about balance if you lost. And the motto of this franchise is just win, baby. I think you're going to see it. I really do. Now, I could be wrong, and I will be accountable if I am. But I think you're going to see that creativity. I think you're going to see a Raider team coming home. I think you're going to see some stuff from the Raiders this week, some interesting things from the Raiders this week. And I don't budge off. No, Adam Hill, my buddy from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, told me on, I think it was Sunday night, that Pittsburgh was favored. I think now it's a pick 'em. Irrelevant to me. And none of that matters. This is a game the Raiders should win. They're at home. This isn't a dominant team. It isn't a Buffalo Bill team. It's a good team, but not the Buffalo Bills. And you got to you got to win these games. You just have to. And I think the Raiders are going to. I think Josh will show his creativity, and it'll move on. And so there you go. It's going to be fascinating. If you, depending on when you're watching this comes out Monday afternoon. Don't forget to watch Monday Night Football tonight. Watch Pittsburgh. I'll have a lot more to talk about them tomorrow on the podcast. But again, I thought the offense lacked creativity and was not good. I thought the defense was not anywhere near as bad as people seem to make it out to be, even though they gave up 38. And if you just watch stats, then you would think that. But when you dig deep and look at it, some of the reasons why I think are germane. And I thought special teams was very good. Very, very good. So to me, this is Josh McDaniels week. This is where Josh McDaniels in year 2 has a young team, but he comes out and shows some creativity. This is a big week for Josh McDaniels, in my opinion. Home game against a very good opponent, but a very good opponent that's not the Buffalo Bills, and a game you should win. Now go do it. Make it happen. And it's going to be a great week here at Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders today. Part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Hondo Carpenter. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.